Hello and welcome back to the Huddle as we inch closer and closer to the start of NBL 22. I'm Liam Santamaria, and that man right there is Dan Shamir, head coach of the New Zealand Breakers. Coach, welcome. Thanks for joining me, and good to see you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
How you going?
I'm doing okay under the circumstances.
Let's talk about the circumstances because they've been rough. But you're back on the floor. How are you enjoying being back on the floor with the fellas?
It's good. In the big picture, it's still not so easy to do professional sports in this part of the world right now. Without blaming anybody, we all know that it's not in our hands, and this is we know what the world is going through. But with the struggles, at least we're not at home. And just thinking about how far we are from playing basketball, and we're just getting a step closer every day.
I talk about the disruptions. When you guys in your lockdown recently, unlike other teams in lockdown across different spots of Australia, you were not able to get out on the floor. You were not able to get any of the guys into the gym. It was 100% stay pretty much at home. What is it now? What can you actually get done on a day-to-day basis right now as those COVID restrictions ease across the ditch?
It's still strict. You were talking about I think 4 or 5 weeks that we were in a very hard lockdown. So I assume it's the same for most people. The beginning is fun. You're at home. You don't have to work. And you spend time with the family, but after 2 weeks, you start worrying about your players, not lifting weights and not touching a ball and not taking shots. So then the panic sinks in. We're waiting for confirmation, obviously, and clarification on when the season is going to start, what exactly format is going to be. Then we're going to be able to play in the preseason. So right now we're still a little bit far off, and we're just we're in a position. Just like any team in the world, 8-9 weeks before the season, where people just get into the preseason mode, just get a little bit moving and ready and body ready for it to start.
We're going to get a little bit more positive and optimistic as we go here, but I want to take you back. One of our first kind of in-depth conversations was in the airport at Oklahoma City, heading back from your NBL, NBA games 2 years ago, pretty much probably to the day right now. And you said to me that over the course of my career, I've never had a preseason, a lead up to a season as disrupted as what we've had here and now. And then since then, that just hasn't let up. You came back a couple of weeks later, Scotty Hopson gets injured. Glenn Rice Jr. comes in, the pandemic hits, you displaced all of last season. I mean, where do these last couple of years sit for you in terms of your career in the game, as far as the level of challenge that you've had to deal with?
I'll put it this way. I love the New Zealand Breakers. I love the people around. I love New Zealand. And I just strongly believe in the organization that we have. It's a very unique combination for me. It's perfect from a professional standpoint. I have a great owner. We have a nice facility, great local core. I really believe in what we got, and we're just all waiting. It's been extremely frustrating, but we're waiting to have a normal season where you can really play basketball. And I'm not going to take you back 2 years from now, but to the first season, but those challenges were normal professional challenges. I got here and we needed to figure out how we're going to do things. I have my background. We're going to find a way to work. It's been a process back then, but after a few months, we felt we got it. We felt, that we're gonna just improve from here. And obviously, the last year and a half were extremely tough to just bring those results to the floor. So last year we were thinking, okay, let's just survive this. We believe in what we're doing, but it's really tough. Let's survive this season, get to the next one, and hopefully we'll have a normal season. And now we are at the point that, and then Delta hit now, and we're hoping that at least this season is not going to be the same. We're going to be able to be functional. We already know, at least, we have to be realistic, that we're going to have some challenges at the beginning. I hope that we're a little bit more prepared. It's been rough for a lot of people in the world. I'm not complaining, but, for a basketball team to be a little bit isolated, not being able to bring their players, not being able to practice, these are things that, it's just tough to prepare yourself. Hopefully we'll get over all those obstacles when the seasons come.
How are you feeling about your roster?
How are we feeling about the roster?
Yeah.
Coaches always talk about the roster before the season, and they are excited, and I am too, and I'm excited to see my players. It's a combination of a few interesting, parts of the roster. We have youth in Ousmane Dieng and Hugo Besson, young players, fresh, a lot to teach, very talented. We have the experience with Peyton Siva and the leadership, and we have the locals that are continuing. And I personally believe in each and every part of that. And then the games will start, and we'll see what really happens on the floor. But right now, we are excited to see what comes out of that.
Let's talk about the roster construction a little bit, because there's been a bit go on, as there usually does over the course of the off season. How did things play out with Corey Webster and the parting of ways between the club and him? My understanding is that there was a pretty frank conversation to say, Corey, we understand you're under contract, but the God's honest truth is there's probably not a massive role for you on this team this coming season. So if you want to explore opportunities elsewhere, go ahead. Is that how it played out? And if so, what was the thinking behind having that conversation and moving down that path?
Yeah, so I love sharing all these things. It's a process, building a team, and you finish the season and you're thinking, who do you want to get? And you start exploring in a few directions. We really wanted to keep Will McDowell White. I love this guy. And so we reached out to him, and you're working in a few directions, and we wanted to keep Ty Webster. So we told him we want to keep you, and we made an offer. So you're working in a few directions, and you never know what the end result is going to be. So you're going in a few directions. We had Corey as an asset. We extended him just when in the first season that you were talking about, we extended for another 2 or 3 years. So he's an asset of ours, and we didn't think it's going to go in this direction back then. But all of a sudden, we found ourselves in a situation where our local squad is built from Will McDowell White, who decided to commit. He likes what we're doing. He thinks it can really develop with us. Ty wants to stay, and we have an opportunity to get Yanni Wetzel, who is a huge foundation for us, local guy that we love his personality and game. So all these great things are happening, and you need to decide, what are you doing? And yes, at this point, it was we're always doing the most logical thing and the right thing to do at any given time. And at this point, the right thing was to show Corey the depth chart. And this is, it makes a lot of sense, to anybody. And as much as we love Corey, it's probably not the best place for you from all angles. Now, let's all do what the right thing is for us in our business. And as it turned out, he found himself in a different place.
Then a couple of weeks later, things shift again. The grounds shift again when Ty makes the decision he's not going to get vaccinated, that the mutual release takes place. But what are your thoughts on that decision that he made?
So there was a huge blow, because we invested a lot in Ty. We just secured him for 2 years, and we know how good he is. And once again, very strong local player. You know how important that is in the NBL and everywhere. Obviously, it's not a basketball decision. It's not a basketball issue. It's a new thing where the whole world is going through that. However, yeah, I'm also not a guy who's afraid to make a stand, and be clear with my players and with you and with the media, with the fans. I think basketball players in order to play need to get vaccinated these days. It's going to be mandatory. It's important. It's not something I can tell anybody. I can't tell him get vaccinated. It's a very personal thing. Me, myself, I'm vaccinated, or my family is vaccinated. That's all the only thing I can say about our own situation. But if you want to be a basketball player, it needs to be a clear stand from everybody that you need to do that. I'm a little bit surprised that nobody did that, but us started communicating this and telling him, listen, you're not going to be able to get on the airplane and go play a single game if you're not vaccinated. So if you decide not to, then we have a problem here. And again, it was frank enough and open enough to understand that he doesn't want to do it, and therefore he cannot play in the NBA.
And as a result, that the flow-on effect from that was you guys said, well, that changes what we're going to do with our import. We're going to bring in a big to sit there alongside Yanni and Rob Lowe, Finn Delaney at the 5 and the 4. Maybe we need to instead bring someone in the backcourt. And you already had Peyton Seaver on board. And as you say, William McDowell, White, Hugo Besson, but Ty goes out. Now Jeremiah Martin comes in. As a guy I know, a couple of other NBL teams have had their radar on over the course of the last few months. High level defender. How did you land on him, and what kind of role do you see him playing this season?
So luckily for us, we had this import spot. We were not looking to use it, at least in the beginning. You look at that chart with Ty, and this is why Ty was such a huge piece of our build-up. We thought we're going to keep that last spot for anything that happens if we want it later on. We had our first unit and second unit in place. Luckily for us, we had that, so we could just go into the import market and replace Ty. Why I like Jeremiah is that he ticks so many boxes for us. I really love, first of all, his talent. When you see what he can do, when you watch a player, I usually watch the good games, the average games, the bad games. It's very important to have the complete package. So if you look at the good games, you look at the 2 24 and 20-point games in the bubble, in the NBA bubble, on a playoff team 2 years ago, you see his talent and what he can do in the good game. His number one versatility, so he can play 2 positions for us. Him being a two-way player, as you can see, he's a good defender. He's a guy plays hard. That's a box he takes. I like everything about him. Obviously, every player has few little things that you're going to have to work on. Jeremiah will play internationally for the first time for a European style system, probably an adjustment over there. But I think he can be a force in the NBL. I like him together with Hugo. I like him together with Ousmane. It's very easy to play with Peyton and with Will. So I just thought, just a great replacement for Ty. Let's jump on the opportunity.
Let's talk about Hugo, because I've been hearing word out of your practice sessions that he's been really impressive in the early going. What are your early impressions of Hugo Besson?
I don't know why. I am, if I reflected myself or people reflected me, they know that they would say that I'm a very structured guy who likes data and likes little details. I'm a coach that developed. I was never a player. I never had the one-on-one and looking at a pick and roll from the inside and all the little things that players are so good with. I'm a coach that grew up from the screen, from the details, from the data, from the numbers, and I'm very structured. And somehow I like players that are the complete opposite, and they have just this good instincts. And Hugo is just a basketball player, so he's 20 years old. He's got a lot to learn. I don't think he knows everything about being a professional player, how to eat, how to sleep, how to practice, how to prepare for a game. But he just knows how to play. And he's got this, I even see it in the way he looks at me, like, yeah, okay, good. This is good that you're telling me what that. And then he goes and he does what he wants to do. And I love players like that play with balls. And he's very exciting for everybody who watches him, and it's very exciting to work with.
I'm going to say you love players like that, but you also love the complete opposite. You love the Tom Abercrombie and the Finn Delaney who looks at you in the eye and says, okay, if that's what you want me to do, I'm going to do exactly that.
So the bottom line is probably that in a healthy basketball team, you can't have everybody like Tom, and you probably can't have everybody like Hugo as well. So you need one guy who curses you in French and 9 others that just follow.
Well, the cool thing this season is you're going to have 2 guys cursing you in French because you've got Ousmane on the roster as well. I mean, this kid, 6'10" in shoes now, still growing, incredibly talented. How good do you think Ousmane Dieng could become?
If we're talking long term, few years from now, and I'm not very good with that, and this is not my job, predicting stuff that will be 4 years from now. This is what the NBA scouts and GMs are supposed to do, and I could never tell what somebody can become.
It's okay. It's just you and me talking. Nobody's listening.
But under that, with all that intro, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. So we just measured him 206, as you say, 206 plus, between 206 and 7, bare feet, huge wingspan. And the talent level is just incredible. So I'm thinking a franchise player in the NBA, because now I cannot commit and I cannot guarantee anything, but the only comparisons that I can think of are very, very big names. Now, there are a few years for him to get there because growing up so quickly. So I don't want people to quote me in 2 months when he has a bad game saying, okay, this guy is going to be a franchise player, because he needs to develop physically. Okay, this is what everybody will see. He's got road to go in terms of physical development, but it's very natural. Now, at his age, he couldn't make up for all that, and he grew up, I think, maybe 2+ inches in the last few months. But what he can do with the ball, and his feel to the game, and his length, and his passing ability, and vision, and how fluid is he with the ball, is just incredible. I think he's a total freak when I look at him in terms of the basketball package. And I don't know if I'm going to be the one to enjoy it, just because he's going to get pushed around a little bit. It's going to be tough to play in this physical league with this kind of body right now. But once he gets over that, I'm seeing an unbelievable player.
That is very exciting for the rest of us who don't have the responsibility of coaching him and can sit back and enjoy the ride. It's a real juggling act, I think, coaching a team in a league as good as this and as competitive as this, and at the same time taking on board these young NBA prospects and helping to prepare them for the next level. I mean, when you came into that challenge coaching RJ Hampton, you were very strong on the message, like, I'm going to coach you exactly like I coach every other player on the team. Now, I wonder whether you still feel that way about Ousmane and Hugo and the approach. I think every coach who's coaching these next stars and these prospects are kind of approaching it differently. But can an NBL team win the title and at the same time prepare one of these, and in your case, 2 of these youngsters for the NBA? Can you achieve both of those things at the same time?
First of all, as you know me, I don't like empty titles and empty words. So I don't know. Nobody knows. It's still to be seen, in all honesty, because there's obviously, and a lot of NBA teams are facing the same thing. You don't see a lot of that in the international basketball, but in the NBA you do. Teams that are rebuilding are usually not the teams that are winning championships, and the conflict between win now or develop now is a conflict. You say that it's juggling, and we believe that it's possible that you're going to pay some price for the learning curve. Obviously, we want these players for a lot of reasons. It's good for the league, it's good for the team. There are a lot of business ideas into it, but we also want another player. So the New Zealand Breakers in the last 2 years were never in a position where they had too many players. And I want Ousmane Dieng on my team from a coaching perspective, also to have an extra player, to have a guy that, with all the tough schedule and the back-to-backs and the travel and the injuries, you have another good player that can play. This is also, it helps you as a team. Now, it's everybody's work, and this is the second time we're going into this experience. Hopefully we're better than we were back then. Part of it is also the right expectations from everybody. But yes, achieving the ultimate goal is getting to the Final Four, getting to the finals, winning titles, and putting these guys in the first round next year at the highest peak possible.
Just to put a cap on this conversation about these youngsters, these next stars, this is kind of a cool thing this season, the kind of pivot that the program's taken for the league, where we've got these guys coming in from Europe. And it's not just the two guys that you've got. We've got Tom Digbo in Brisbane coming in from France, Ariel Hukporti coming in, the German who's been playing in Lithuania for Melbourne United, and Nikita Mikhailovsky in Tasmania. And what's cool for me about these guys is, yes, they're 19, 20 years old, but they've already played a year or two of pro ball, unlike some of the next stars we've had previously, who have each had their own level of success in the program, but were coming in out of high school after playing with kids. I mean, how do you feel like that's going to be a bit different for these guys who already have that kind of experience?
You're not going to get a guy who's more excited about it than me, that the league is going a little bit European, just with that. I think it's good for the NBL, generally speaking. The NBL has changed and grown a lot in the last few years, and it's 100% a great league. And I think that just having this bit of an extra angle, that it's not only Americanized and it's not only NBA oriented, and people actually look at the European game and it starts developing under this angle, I think it's only going to be good. And we have a little bit of part in that, in stuff that I'm being asked most of the time about style of play, and now a few European players are coming in. I think it's a great thing. When I here and there talk to my players about European basketball and European, even legendary coaches, and they didn't know who they were, I was kind of surprised, and I think it's a great thing that people are bringing this experience and this kind of different culture of way of doing things, and some influence both ways is great.
Hey, we've seen a couple of trailers drop in the last couple of weeks for the 5-part doco with Sky Sport New Zealand on your experiences last season. Are you nervous about what's going to go to air? Are you excited to see what they've put together?
I probably should be nervous, but I am excited because, we all love documentaries about sports. Everybody loves those, and everybody's watching. It started with 30 for 30 of ESPN, and now The Last Dance, and Netflix has a few, because all the drama in sports translates so well into documentaries. And we were away for 5-6 months last year, going through everything we went through. People don't get to see and know anything about it. They just see us play, see us struggling most of the time. And just to look at what the people are going through, I think it's very interesting. it's a great thing that the breakers are doing, providing this angle. And I'm sure I haven't seen anything. I'm seeing just the promos, just like you. I'm sure they're also doing good work in just presenting the reality as it was, and with the good and the bad. And we're probably not going to look perfect over there, but we're going to look genuine, and they're going to see how I think coaching and being in pro sports, it's about all the struggles and all the conflicts and all the just coping with things, coping with the wins and the losses and everything in between. And if you can get a glance for what a team that is not doing so well on the court is going through, I think you're going to love it.
I'm looking forward to it because, I love talking the game with you. I love talking the actual game. I love talking the business, the industry, and because you're such a straight shooter, and hopefully we're going to see more and more of that on the doco, and hopefully you guys overcome all of those same kind of challenges this season, but get a whole bunch more wins on the board as well. So thanks heaps for the chat, mate, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon, Liam.
Wouldn't that be good?
In 3D.
Cheers, mate.